Have you ever been in the position where you are attempting to break an unhealthy habit or pattern of yours, and everything is going along swimmingly and you're succeeding in that endeavor? And then as your success progresses, you sabotage yourself and interrupt that progress. That's what I'm going through right now, and I have actually been through this a number of times in my life, in my adult life certainly, and I suspect and presume that I am not alone. So I just wanted to talk about this because it's it's very frustrating. As you know, I believe that self-awareness is very important, obviously, but I think I can get into that trap where things start to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And on the topic of self-sabotage, I thought this could be a useful discussion to have because I think, like I said, probably a lot of you watching this can perhaps relate in your own life to this. So, why do I self-sabotage personally? Well, I think one main reason is out of fear. In terms of breaking an unhealthy habit, for instance, things that are habituated in my routine, I do them because, not because they're unhealthy, of course, but these patterns are familiar to me, and things that are familiar to us, all of us, they're comfortable. So it's almost like a self-soothing coping mechanism when things get stressful, and I have my healthy tools like meditation and yoga and all these things that I know I should be doing, and I do those things as well. I also am human, so I falter and I act impulsively and compulsively at times, and I'm not able to, I'll say, use my better judgment, and I go the route of needing that instant, whatever it may be, relief to help me through my stress. So that's something that I'm continuously practicing, and that's why I practice meditation and yoga on a daily basis, because these things at least keep me in a way of having my head stay above the water, so to speak. So I rely heavily on those practices. But in my self-sabotage, I think fear would be the number one thing, is that I fear what my life is going to look like without that bad habit that I'm trying to break. So for instance, if I have a pattern that I notice in myself and the pattern is not serving me, and I've done the action steps to create progress in discontinuing that pattern, I seem to be able to get to that point very successfully, and then I will hit a wall and start reintroducing the behavior, I guess almost as a way of, it feels almost like a way that I'm testing myself. I've spoken about this to my parents as a support, and I've often wondered, am I doing this because I want to test myself and see if I'm strong enough to really let go of that pattern? I want to see hypothetically what will happen to me if I, relapse, and then what will that look like, and will I be able to dig myself out from that? I think psychologically, all of these things are going on in my mind. And I think too that another thing that I continue to practice on, but also continue to work through, is that internal dialogue, which I've spoken about in the past, that I'm still practicing making that a positive rather than a negative, so that I don't become stuck in self-fulfilling prophecies of the negative variety. So I'm trying to harness my energy, and rather than use it to self-destruct, I'm trying to continue to get better and improve that part of myself so I can function optimally and, be thriving. Lately, I noticed some unhealthy patterns and behaviors rearing their head again. And the difference now, which is great, is that I'm very much self-aware, and I can address it in a very mindful way and in almost an objective way, as objective as one can be about one's own self. I can use my tools and see the situation for what it is, and that has been a big difference as opposed to my younger self of beating up on myself when I'm already down. I wanted to just stress the importance, just for myself and for all of you, that attitude is everything. For instance, in my yoga teacher training, we talked a lot about willingness of the heart and what that means. And willingness of the heart is really about one's attitude and how attitude can really shape and shift and change the whole picture. And it really does, because two people can be in the same situation and the attitude makes all the difference. And that's something that I've really adopted and effortfully, deliberately practiced. And it has yielded great positivity. In other words, when I changed my attitude about this, life is full of ups and downs, as we know. And so when I'm in a down point or a dark place or whatever it may be, that's actually the time when I need to change my attitude. That's the time when I need to show myself particular compassion and gentleness and allow myself the space, allow myself the opportunity to learn from that. That's a better attitude than going to my past default attitude, which was that I am a loser, I did everything wrong, I messed up, I failed, I relapsed, I did this, that, and the other thing, and now I'm never going to be okay ever again. And with that attitude, it's going to be very difficult indeed for me to ever be okay again. And I realize that now. And it sounds very simple, but it has been a process for me. And perhaps for other people, it does come easily. For me, it didn't. I've had to practice this because every time I falter, I've had another opportunity to look at it in a perspective of what it is and not judging it so harshly. We're the harshest critics of ourselves. We tend to have a different set of rules for other people than we do ourselves. That just doesn't make any logical sense. I have adopted this principle, I guess, of the attitude of gratitude and changing my attitude every time something happens unpredictably or undesirably. I look at it now as an opportunity. I look at it as a gift, and it opens up my eyes. It really does. It opens up my perspective of how can I learn from this? How can I use this as an opportunity for growth? And then I use that in my teaching and my coaching and in my workplace with interpersonal relationships. If something is happening to you, or if you are going through something particularly trying and you're wondering, why can't I be stronger? Or why can't I get through this? Why do I keep messing up? Rather than ask those questions of yourself, I practice this actually. I go to the mirror and I look in the mirror and I say, Jennifer, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Begin again. This is an opportunity to learn. This is going to be a positive experience. And just by telling myself those simple words of affirming that this is going to be a positive experience, that attitude gives the whole situation an energy. And that energy makes me and allows me to take the action steps necessary for it to become a positive event rather than a catastrophic one. I believe that this is how life works, and it does happen that way in practice. I'm putting that energy into it. Being an extreme introvert, oftentimes when I have obligations like a meeting or a social event, I get scared and anxious to the point that I often question whether or not I'm able to go. And when I say that, of course I'm able to go, but I question whether I'm going to be able to go without being so uncomfortable that I become physically sick from it, if I'm being honest. And what I've started doing is, rather than look at those events as a fearful thing and an anxiety-inducing thing, and then allowing that to infiltrate my mind and make me so fearful and anxious that I become physically ill, I started kind of faking it till I make it. And so what I'll do is I'll get dressed and I'll get ready, and then I'll tell myself, I'm going to have a really good time. This is going to be a really positive experience, and I will be okay. And I will just affirm all the things that I wish and I want to unfold. And then that gives that event a totally different energy for me. And then I'm able to do the things that I want to do, but that I would previously have held myself back from. I can go forward with it in a much lighter way. And I realize this is not a struggle for everyone, but social anxiety, I think it's a common thing, especially for introverts. I have had to change my attitude to things like, instead of, oh, I have to do this thing, I look at it like, I get to do this thing. And that simple attitude shift changes the event for me, and it gives it an entirely different energy that I can benefit from, because I don't want to only do those things, I want to be able to benefit from them. I want to be able to benefit from them, not just be in paralyzing anxiety during the entire event and then come home and feel sick because I've expended all of my resources. I wanted to share my thoughts about this because I've had lots of meetings lately where I've been nervous and I've been practicing these tools, and I have noticed a difference in myself. So I wanted to just share, because if any of you watching are struggling with the same thing and you find yourself anxious in these moments, I think that willingness of the heart is a really important mantra to keep repeating to yourself. It's what I've been doing, is willingness of my heart to open and change my attitude. The change in attitude leads to the change in energy, and the outcome is different. Something I'm always saying is, when you fall down, show yourself kindness. Be compassionate with yourself. Treat yourself the way you would treat another if they have fallen down. That's a very important lesson to learn. So I will leave you with that, and I wish you all well. Thank you for watching. I shall see you soon. Bye.